Today we're going to talk about Like a Dragon 8 Infinite Wealth, which I still have no idea why it's called Infinite Wealth, and I absolutely had a great time playing this game. I had such a good time that I spent over 100 hours getting every single trophy in the base game and also doing pretty much everything to do in the DLC also. So today in this video we're going to be going over from gameplay to the story, and honestly, even though I'm going to be pretty much complaining this whole video, I did have a great time playing this game. I just wish there were some things about the game that were changed that would have made this game pretty much perfect. But we'll get into that. If you look at the timeline, you can skip ahead to different portions of this video. So if there's a section you don't like, you can just skip ahead to that. Now the things that we're going to go over in this video are going to be containing, the gameplay. We're going to talk about the different mini games in this game, because mini games are huge when it comes to Yakuza or Like a Dragon games. And then at the end, we're going to go over the story, which I feel like is the biggest problem with this game, because there's pretty much one important story, I guess, a storyline that's been a problem with this game since pretty much Yakuza 6. So we're gonna get to that later, but first of all, let's talk about some of the positive things about the game, which is gonna be the gameplay. Now the gameplay for this game is so much fun. In my opinion, this might be like the best like turn-based RPG ever made. It's a very fun and engaging gameplay, because it's not just like, oh, you're playing a turn-based RPG, so you're just pressing buttons, you're not really that engaged. In this game, you can move around, you gotta be fast, because the enemies also move around, so to get them into like the right angle, you have to like move to a specific location. It's really fun, honestly. The only main complaint I have when it comes to the gameplay, honestly, is just that it's way too easy. Like, maybe I'm just like, godlike at this game, so I'm like the best like turn-based RPG player, which I don't even play them that much. But in this game, I never really died or felt like, oh, the game was really hard. Even like the DLC, for this game is supposed to be like an extra hard dungeon, but honestly, the dungeon ones were super easy. Like, I pretty much never died in this game. The only time I died was during one of the Sujimon battles at the very end, where there's like a giant difficulty spike. But besides that, I never died in the game, and we'll get into why I died there, because that was kind of bullshit. When it comes to the gameplay, it just felt very easy, and this is also a problem when it comes to the DLC practice of the game, because the problem with this game is that you cannot change the difficulty when you're just doing a brand new game. The problem is that they made it so that when you start a new game, you cannot change the difficulty of the game, and then if you want to do, hard or legendary difficulty, then you have to buy a DLC for it, but you cannot use the DLC for it until you beat the game, so you can only do it in New Game Plus, which I think is ridiculous, because I would have loved to play this game on hard or legendary mode on my new game, and I would have had more fun, because the game would have been challenging. Well, with this game, because I played on normal mode, it was just very easy. So now let's get into the different game modes in this game. Now first of all, we have the Sujimon battles, which honestly was one of my favorite parts of the game. Now the main complaint I have about the Sujimon battles is something that I had problem with some of the other mini games also, is that you can do all of it at once. Now that is a big problem in my opinion, because when you get the Sujimon battles, you're like level 10 or something, so you're just like starting out. It's one of the first things you get in the game. Now the main problem when it comes to the Sujimon battles is that I enjoyed like the storyline about it, everything. I had a lot of fun playing with it. It was a little too simple, but honestly, it's fine. It's not a full-on, Pokemon game. It's just a mini game for the game. So, for that, I didn't have super high expectations, but I had fun playing it. The problem I did have is that you can kind of do all of it at once, and the game kind of expects you to be doing it throughout the game. Now the main reason for that is that it's just way too easy to level up your Sujimon. Now how it works is that, like in a Pokemon game, for example, let's say you're level 20, and then you get your badge, and now you can catch Pokemon up to level 30, right? Well, in this game, once you get your badge to get to level 30, you can literally do one battle, and then your Sujimon just immediately level up to level 30. It's like, okay, now you can take on the next, gym leader. That made it so that you can just easily do all the Sujimon battles, which I ended up doing, because I did enjoy them a lot, and the whole, like, going to the gym and everything, I really enjoyed. So for that reason, I wish it was longer, and I wish they made it so there was some barrier that you had to get through in order to be able to do the next Sujimon battles. That way you could have played it throughout the game, besides just being able to do all of it at once. Now one thing they did do, which I thought was really annoying, was that so you can do pretty much all of it, 99% of the Sujimon battles, everything, just from the get-go. But when you do the last Sujimon battle, there's an actual battle at the end where you like fight these the guys with the masks on, and those guys are like level 30. And when I did it, I was like level like 15 or 20 or something. So I got my ass whooped, and I tried for an hour, over and over an hour, just tried to beat these guys, and I couldn't do it. So because of that reason, I had to like leave and come back later in the game. But besides that, you can just do all of it at once, which was the main problem for me. And what they also did was introduce a Sujimon master class that you can pick and use in the actual battles in the game, which I thought was a genius idea until I realized that they completely fucked it up. Now, the reason why I think they fucked it up is because, you know, how it works is that, like with the Sujimon master class, is that you have different abilities. So you'll have an ability that's like shoot a fireball, right? And then your second ability is like shoot a fireball that hits multiple enemies. You know, it's very basic stuff, and then you can assign a Sujimon to it. So, and then the damage will calculate depending on what level the Sujimon is. Now, because of that reason, it just makes it very simple. Like, it doesn't even matter which Sujimon you have. You just gotta pick whatever has the highest number. But things that I feel like they could have like so easily made it so that it was more interesting to do by making it so that besides, you know, having already set skills, just make it so that when you pick whatever Sujimon you pick, like each Sujimon has like their own special abilities. So when you pick a Sujimon for the battle, just have them use their abilities instead of the generic attacks. That would have made it like so much more fun, and each Sujimon would have had like a unique attack to it, and then you could like strategize it that way. That would have made it like one of the best classes in the game, but instead they made it like this like very basic, pretty much mage build. And once you get like the level 60 legendary Pokemons or Sujimons, then you can do decent damage with it, but it's a very basic class that like you have no reason to pick it. Like the hero class is way better. You can pick the samurai class, or you can just go with the cowboy class. There's like so many better classes that there's no reason to like really ever do it, you know. If you want like a mage build, you can go with the host class. The host has better skills than the Sujimon class. So because of that reason, I never really used it. But I feel like that's a class that could have been so much better, you know. So that, for me, that was a little disappointing. But besides that, the Sujimon battles, all the like the storyline, going to the gyms, and like those were super fun. So I really liked it. Now when it comes to the, what is it, the Dokonko Islands or whatever, that one was fun. But again, it was the same problem I had with the Sujimon, which is that you get to the Dokonko Island and they're like, all right, you know, here's the island, have fun. And then you can just do all of it at once. And which is what I did. I spent like a couple of hours and I did all of it and beat the storyline, which I enjoyed. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'm done. And then I left and I never really came back. You know, I just came back to do some of the trophies. But besides that, you can just do all of it once. And then throughout the game, they're constantly like giving you people that you can recruit for the island. You can get people to, or you can go to the stores. Or you can buy like different stuff for the island. But it's like, I already finished it, you know. But again, like if you're someone that just like goes there, you play around a little bit and you visit it throughout the game, then it works out. But I wish the game made it so that you had to do that. But instead you can kind of just do all of it at once, and then you're like, all right, I'm done. And then they'll be like, oh, this guy can come to your island. And it's like, all right, I don't really care. I'm done with it. I did the storyline for it, so I don't really have a reason to go back to it. A bunch of different mini games for the game. Like there's like the Crazy Eats one, which I had a lot of fun with, but it's a basic mini game. You know, so there isn't much to talk about besides that it's fun. And then there's like the Can Quest comes back, which is the same exact thing, but I had fun with that. Also, there's the Creeper picture taken one, which was funny, so I had fun doing that also. That's just a small one. Now, the next big one was the dungeon one, which I thought was probably the worst decision they made for the game. And let me tell you guys why. Now, when it comes to the dungeon one, I feel like it kind of broke the game once I got it, because with the dungeon one, you can, first of all, level up super fast, and you make shit ton of money doing it. Now when it comes to the crafting system in this game, you go to the car shop and you can craft different weapons, and they can go from like rank 1 to like 6 or 7 or something. And when I got to the dungeon, I was pretty much at like rank 2 weapons, so I was still like at the beginning. And once I did a couple of dungeons, I was like, oh, I can just buy like the final weapons. Like you get so much money from doing it, especially if you use like abilities like Money Sucker with the house cleaner job, or like the host also has a way to get more money. If you do that stuff, you can just grind out shit ton of money, and also experience that kind of breaks the game in my opinion, where after I got the dungeon I was like, money's not an object. I can buy whatever I want in the game. If I ever run out of money, I can just do a dungeon, get a bunch of money, and then just be able to do it. And once I realized, I kind of had to start pacing myself with the game, because I was like, alright, if I go through every single one of these dungeons, I'm just going to be super over leveled, which happened anyways. When it came to the story, I was pretty much like 10 levels over where the story wanted me to see, so I pretty much just like one-shot killed all the enemies. Also, when it comes to the dungeons, I felt like it was just boring. I had a lot more fun doing in Yakuza 7, while in this game, it's just very repetitive. They made it so that it was like randomly generating, but they had like 3 different rooms they would choose from. So you would just keep doing like the same rooms over and over again, fighting the same enemies over and over again. And after you do it like a couple of times, it just becomes super repetitive. So because of that reason, I didn't really like it. I went through all of it, but I don't know. Towards the end, I just like put on like the good thing they put like a music player on the game. I would just play the music player and just like turn off my play and grind for a bit, you know, get the so I can get like certain weapons and everything. But it was fine, you know, I had fun with it. It's just that it got repetitive pretty quick. Now from that, let's segue into the DLC for the game, which I thought was terrible. The reason why I bought the DLC is because I just had fun with the game, you know. I was like 100 hours in, and I'm like, you know what, I'm enjoying this game. I put this many hours into the game, you know. The developers deserve a little bit extra money. So I was like, you know what, let me buy the DLC and let me check it out. And it was 20 bucks, so it wasn't a cheap DLC. And I checked it out, and the DLC is pretty much an extra dungeon, and as we go over the dungeons, where all of them are just super boring. And then for some reason, like, the dungeon made it so that like at the beginning it's like, oh, the dungeon was created by the game master, and I'm like, oh shit, who's the game master? Is it gonna be like some character that we've seen before, you know? Who could it be? And then you go through all of it, and it like has like fights that you fought previously in this game. So you fought like the shard again, you fight like the final boss again, and then you fight like, you know, some characters throughout the game. You fight like Majima and stuff. So it was like cool at the beginning, and we get to the final boss, and I'm like, oh my god, who's the final boss? And it's like a squid that we fought previously in the game. So it was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I thought the game master was gonna be like something cool, but it wasn't. Maybe I missed something in the story, which is how I felt throughout the whole game, where I'm like, why are we doing this? You know? But I don't know, I mean, I guess it was fine. But again, it's just more of the dungeon. And they advertise it as like a hard mode dungeon, but honestly, it wasn't hard at all. You know, the thing is that the dungeon is higher level than the other dungeons. But the thing is that, let's say you're level 50 and then the dungeon's level 60. You fight one battle, it might be hard, but then you level up so fast that like you're also level 60, and then it just becomes not an issue anymore. I mean, in this game, it's just so easy to level up and make money that there just isn't much challenge to it, honestly. And then also with the DLCs, that there's like extra cutscenes that you get in the game. You get like a tiny story mode, like a slice of life kind of thing. It's the gang hanging out, which sounds cool, but honestly, like, it was so low quality. Like, honestly, the whole thing just felt like those like old like Gary's Mod videos, like where it's like, you know, frozen stills and then they're doing like something crazy and wacky. Well, like it just felt like very cringeworthy. Like, it didn't feel like this is what the characters would actually do or say. It just felt like they just gave an intern to like, with no animation skills, to do a bunch of like, just write like some like stupid storylines. So the DLC honestly is kind of a waste of time, unless if you're trying to get all the trophies, because one of the trophies is, for example, is get to level 70. And if you do the DLC, they can easily get to level 70. On the other hand, if you don't have the DLC, then you're gonna have to grind for hours. So if you're someone that's trying to get all the trophy, then it is worth getting the DLC. But otherwise, like, you're not missing anything by not doing the DLC. Alright, now let's get into the main complaint about the game, which is gonna be the story of this game. Now, the story for the first half of the game is actually really good. It was very interesting. I was engaged with the story, but then the halfway through the game, it kind of just drops the ball. And usually, and this dropping of the ball kind of starts at when the party splits. When Kiryu goes back to Japan and Ichiban stays in America, it kind of starts falling apart. Now, the reason for that is because I feel like, you know, when you start out the game, you know, your main objective is, you know, Ichiban has a mother in Hawaii. We gotta figure out where she is, who she is, find her, and save her. And then throughout the game, you find out it's like, oh, this organization is after her, and then it's like, oh no, this organization is after her too, and then it's like, oh, Kiryu is also after her. So it's like, what is going on? Who is this woman? Why is all these organizations are after her? And then you find her, and it's like, oh, it's because she was with this kid that's like supposed to be the leader of this like religious group, I guess. But she like saves him because like the actual religious leader is actually not supposed to be the leader. Now this would be fine if we gave a shit about the organization, but like this is like a newly introduced like side religious plot that's added to the game, and no one really cares about it. So that in itself kind of killed the story in my opinion, because I'm just like, who is this kid? I don't care about her. And then we finally rescue both the kid and the mom halfway through the game, and then both of these characters are just very boring and two-dimensional. Like with the mother, it's just like, okay, she's a nice person, I guess. Like that's all there is with her. Like there's nothing interesting about her. It was cool the cutscene we had with Ichiban and the mom talking at the beach, but besides that, like there just wasn't anything there with her, you know. And for a character that's been like being hyped up throughout the beginning of the game, when it's like every single organization is after her, she was just a boring character. So I feel like that kind of killed the story middle of the way. And then we saved the kid also, so it's like, okay, what's there next? So halfway through the story, Ichiban rescues his mom, and then that pretty much concludes that story. And after that, it's pretty much, you know, game over. You know, after that, this story kind of takes a nosedive in my opinion, at least when it comes to the Ichiban side, because Kiryu also kind of has his own story going out throughout the game. Now, I have to say, Kiryu Kazuma is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. You know, I love these games. I love that he's in them. But at the same time, I also feel like they're kind of robbing Ichiban out of the story. I feel like Ichiban is a great character, but once they, you know, showed Kiryu, and this kind of took over the story, and it kind of was kind of disappointing, because like, yes, I get that, you know, Kiryu's an iconic character and everything, but it's like, you know, previous game, Yakuza 7 was supposed to be Ichiban's, you know, introduction to the series, and they did a great job, honestly. Like, everyone loved Ichiban, and they didn't even just change Ichiban, they changed the gameplay style, and everyone loved the gameplay style also. So they pretty much did the impossible. You know, most games, when they, you know, change an iconic, you know, main character, the series usually falls apart, but this game series didn't. They actually did a great job with that. But then what happens halfway through Yakuza 7? Then Kiryu comes back, and it's like, oh no, this isn't a brand new game, this is actually a conclusion to all the previous games. And this game felt the same way also, where it's like, this was supposed to be Ichiban's story, but then Kiryu came, and then it's like, okay, now it's a Kiryu story. Now when it comes to the Kiryu story, I feel like this is where like a lot of the fuck-ups happened. Now Kiryu has like, kind of like 3 different stories in this game. It has the life links, which is where Kiryu links up with like the previous people in his life, which was a really cool concept, and we actually got to see like some of the characters that we haven't seen in a long time. So in that sense, it was cool, but it was also very poorly done, which we'll get into in a minute. And then there's also the memoirs of the dragon or something, where it's like you also link up with previous side mission characters like the master and like the pocket circuit racer, and bunch of those you get to meet up, and those ones I really loved. I thought they did a great job with those ones, but there was also a problem with those also. And then there's also the main story that also went with Kiryu's story also. Now when it comes to all 3 of these story modes, there's one problem. And this one problem has been annoying me in Yakuza 7, and Yakuza Gaiden, and also in this game. So that's 4 games that's been annoying me, which throughout the whole thing, while I'm playing the games, I'm just thinking to myself, why is Kiryu supposed to be dead? Like, this is like the dumbest fucking storyline of the whole series. And they keep bringing back each time of the game, which is the most annoying part, because in some parts of the game, in some parts of the story, it's very serious, where it's like, alright, if Kiryu tells anyone that he's alive, they're just gonna straight up murder on a whole orphanage of all these kids. That's what they're gonna do if anyone finds out. Other parts of the game, it's like a joke where it's like, oh, I'm not Kiryu. It's like, oh yeah, you are definitely Kiryu. But then also in the storyline, pretty much everyone knows Kiryu's alive. And it's not like, oh, it's like Kiryu told his best friend. It's like, no, all the bad guys in the whole series know Kiryu is alive. Anyone that would be danger to anyone knows Kiryu is alive. But then a woman that's been waiting 15 years for Kiryu because she's in love with him and she's just trying to marry with him, she can't know Kiryu's alive. Kiryu's stepdaughter can know that Kiryu's alive, but then every single villain can know that Kiryu's alive. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna go back into the game and I'm gonna go through each of the side missions and complain about it. So let's talk about the life links first, which is, you know, Date helping Kiryu meet up with people with previously in his life. And first one we have Adachi or Taichi, you know, which is like the kid that was in Yakuza 3 that Kiryu was helping. And in this one was kind of cute, you know, I actually enjoyed this one a lot. But again, it's the thing of like, Kiryu's supposed to be dead, so they can't know, but Kiryu's just watching from the distance. And then these guys try to fight him, and then Kiryu kicks their ass, and then Taichi doesn't know it's him because he's super drunk. But yeah, it was cute. And then like he was like calling for his uncle when he was knocked out, so it was good. But it's like, again, every single villain knows Kiryu's alive. Why can't my boy Taichi know? Why can't he know? It's ridiculous. And then Life Link 2 was, I guess it was just them talking, I don't remember it. And the third one was the Kazuki and Yuya, which were the guys from, I believe they were in Yakuza 1, where they had the Stardust Club. And these were cool guys that, you know, I liked in the previous game, so it was cool to see them come back again. But again, they were also kind of saying like, yeah, we don't buy that Kiryu's dead, because no one actually believes that he's dead, but that Kiryu has to pretend that he's dead anyway, so alright. And then we got the fourth one, which was the guys from Yakuza 6, which was really cool because I actually liked the crew in Yakuza 6 a lot, and I was kind of disappointed to never see them back, so it was cool to see them come back. I wish they brought back the main guy, I forgot his name, but the guy that was actually like the leader of the Yakuza group in Yakuza 6, so I wish he came back because I liked this character a lot. But the other guys coming back was also cool, so this one was fun again. This one I liked a lot, which was Nakashima, which was the guy from Yakuza 5, which was your boss when you were doing taxi deliveries. And I didn't really like Yakuza 5 that much, but this character was definitely my favorite from that game. So it was cool to see him come back, and it was also really cool to see like Date-san be like question him about Kiryu, and he was like trying to defend Kiryu and lie about him. That was really cool. Where's my friend trying to fuck off? So it was really cool to see him come back. But again, it's the same bullshit where it's like, Kiryu, everyone knows you're alive, just talk to the man. And then this one was the one that pissed me off, because we got Sayama, we haven't seen her since Yakuza 2. And if you remember in Yakuza 2, Kiryu and Sayama are like at the top of the building, it's about to explode, they're in love, they kiss, and they're like, we'll die together. And then at the beginning of Yakuza 3, she's like, oh yeah, I'm leaving to go to America to work on, I'm gonna be a police officer in America, goodbye. So in Yakuza 2, she's like, oh, I'm gonna die with you. In Yakuza 3, it's like, oh, I got a $5 raise, so I'm gonna move across the country and never see you again. But anyways, it was cool to see her back, and she was like looking at her hand, looking at her ring finger, and she's like, oh, if only Kiryu came back, maybe I'll marry him. Because, you know, I've been waiting for 15 years, and Kiryu's watching there, and then Date's like, should I fucking tell her? And then Kiryu's like, nah, don't tell her. She's better off without me. But she's been waiting 15 years, so I don't know. This woman has been waiting all her life for Kiryu. And Kiryu's just like, nah, she can't know, because no one knows I'm dead, right? No, everyone knows Kiryu. You're just lying to yourself. You're just scared, Kiryu. You're scared of commitment. That's the real issue. It's not that the Dajamon or whatever fucking organization is threatening you. You're just scared of commitment. And then the next one was, this one was my favorite, honestly. Akiyama, which is a character I absolutely love. I wish there was more of him. And then he comes back and he pretty much slaps the shit out of Kiryu, and Date-san being like, yo, why are you guys fucking lying to me? I know Kiryu's alive. Everyone knows Kiryu's alive. Why are you guys lying to me? Why are you disrespecting me? So Akiyama, I absolutely love. He's my boy. So glad to see him come back. So This was a really fun one. And then the last one was fucking so annoying. And it doesn't... okay, also, here's the thing I forgot to mention. So while you're playing through these fucking lifelinks, at the same time, like, they don't let you do all of them at once. Like how they did with, like, the Sujimon or, like, the Dokonko Island or whatever. In this one, they're like, alright, you gotta be chapter 5 in order to be able to, you know, continue forward. It's like, okay, cool. So you play chapter 5, and it's like, the whole world gets announced that Kiryu's alive. They, like, make it like, the VTuber reveals it, and then it's on, like, the news, like, Kiryu Kazuma is alive. And then you do the next lifelink mission, and it's like, Kiryu's like, oh, I can't tell anyone I'm alive, no one knows. It's like, why did you make me not be able to play, make me play the story mode, where it's revealed that Kiryu's alive and everyone knows now, and then make so that in the lifelinks that, like, oh yeah, Kiryu still has to pretend he's dead. Like, everyone knows Kiryu is alive now, so why are we pretending he's dead in the lifelinks? It doesn't make any sense at all. So, I don't know, that was really fucking annoying with this. And this whole lifelink feels like there's been two different writers writing this, you know. I feel like the main story is written by someone else, and then the lifelink is written by someone else. And then, because you'll see at the end, so at the end, which is what I've been waiting for the whole game. So when I played Yakuza Like a Dragon Gaiden, I guess that's the full name. I think it's just Like a Dragon Gaiden. But at the end of that game has one of the saddest endings where Kiryu is alone, and he sees, you know, his family is, like, you know, mourning over him and his grave, and he's like, you know, I just wish I could see them again. That's all he wants. And that's all I want for Kiryu to. I just want Kiryu to see Haruka again, and I just want him to be happy. And then this mission comes out where it's like, okay, we're finally gonna go see Haruka. And Kiryu looks at Haruka over the door and he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And then he leaves, and then they capture Datsun, they beat the shit out of Datsun, and then Kiryu goes there and beats the shit out of the Daiju group, and he's like, alright, we're making a new deal. I'm gonna pretend to be dead this time, and I'm not gonna talk to anyone. So that means we're straight up back to Yakuza 6 again, where he's pretending to be dead again. You know, I guess he's gonna pretend like he died again, because everyone knows he's alive. And then it's like, it ends with Kiryu walking off, and then Datsun, like, talking to him, being like, you know, Kiryu, you're a fighter, you shouldn't just give up, you should fight your cancer. And then Kiryu's like, maybe. And then he walks up, and that's the end. And it's like, what the fuck? So we went through all that shit, you know, went through the story and everything, and then at the end it's just like, yeah, we're just back to Yakuza 6. And then you play the final mission of the game, and it's the complete opposite, where it's like, okay, now Kiryu's going through his chemo treatment, and Haruka is there to visit him, and he has his name back, and then you get a trophy that says, the man that claimed his name again. So that means that this whole section was completely useless. Kiryu got his name back again, so he's back to being Kiryu Kazuma. He doesn't have to pretend like he's dead. So the whole story just was kind of pointless. For me, that's the most annoying thing about the story, is that Kiryu is pretending to be dead. Everyone knows he's not dead. But then in some parts of the story where it's like, it doesn't matter that he tells people that he's alive. Like all the side characters in the game that are your party members, those characters know Kiryu's alive, but then he can't tell Haruka. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. So that whole story mode, that whole storyline just annoyed the shit out of me. So hopefully in the next game they get rid of the whole, like, Daijougo clan or group or whatever the fuck, like, because the whole thing makes no sense to me. When it comes to the villains of the story, that's where the game also I felt like was kind of weak. Now when it came to, like, some of the villains, like Yumai for example, I thought he was a great villain. And I love the fact that he kind of becomes your friend towards the end of the game. I liked a lot of the gimmicks he had, like he was like, oh, I'm always cold. Like, I thought that was kind of cool, you know? And then I liked that he has a club where he has like a bunch of like fat women in there. Like, I thought like he was like a fun, creative character that they did. But then you could look at the main villains, which I thought they were just terrible. Like, you have Ebina, which is like, we found out later is Ichiban's like half-brother, but then we never interact with that really, you know. Kiryu, at the end of the game, you have like Kiryu going after Ebina, and then you have Ichiban going after the cult leader, and it's like, Okay, cool. Like, I feel like it would have been better if Ichiwan went after Ebina, because that's his half brother. And then, I mean, the cult leader by the end of the game, it just like kind of became like a non-story part, because they have this like whole storyline where like the government's trying to like offshore its nuclear waste, but then the cult leader's like using this like sacred island in order to store it, but he's not storing it properly. It's like, okay, cool, but like I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't play these games to like learn about, Japan's like nuclear waste recycling or whatever. That stuff doesn't matter to me. I want to know about the characters and like what their goals are. And the cult leader just felt like just a boring character. He's just like a guy with a god complex that's like trying to, pretty much brainwashes people and then try to have power and money, I guess. Like, he was a very boring character, and at the beginning I thought they were gonna do something interesting with it, because when you first get introduced to him, a guy's like holding a gun towards him, and then he walks up to the guy, and then the gun like explodes in itself. So it's like, oh shit, this guy maybe has like some magical powers or something. Maybe he is like, second coming of the Christ or whatever. I thought they were gonna do something like what Far Cry 5 did. Which is that, when you play Far Cry 5, for example, when you start out the game, it's like, oh, you're, dealing with cult leaders, and then this guy thinks he's Jesus. But by the time you get to the end of that game, you're kind of like, holy shit, maybe this guy is Jesus. Like, they did a great job with telling the story of that game, even though that wasn't a perfect game. But when it came to that storyline, they did a great job with it. So I thought they were going to go with a similar angle in this game. But instead, what they did was, oh, this guy's like, at the beginning it's like, okay, maybe he has some magical powers, but at the end of the game it's like, alright, he has a submachine gun that's shooting at Ichiban. He's a bad guy, so we're gonna beat him, and then you beat him, and then that's it. Like, the storyline with the cult leader was just boring. The storyline with Ebina was also boring. I like the last cutscene with Kiryu, where Kiryu's like on top of him crying.
If there ever comes a day where he uses this against us, it will be your last, Dwight.
There won't. I swear.
When it came to Danny Travolta's character Dwight, I thought he was fine. He was a fun character, but he was kind of a joke. I mean, his whole character was that, oh, you fight him, he pisses himself, and then he comes back later and then gets eaten by a shark. I thought he was a coolly designed character, but again, he was just a joke, so whatever. Now, when it came to Eiji, he was probably the most character I felt like it made sense, but towards the end of the game, it made zero sense. So let me explain. So when you learn his backstory, he was a guy who was falsely accused by the Yakuza, which ruined his life, so he wanted to get back at the Yakuza, right? That makes sense. So what does he do? He, creates a YouTube channel. Well, he contacts a YouTube channel, and then they together pretty much, put bad name out there for Ichiban, because Ichiban's trying to help the Yakuza, and he's trying to screw over Yakuza because they fucked him over, which all makes perfect sense, right? But then later on, because the Yakuza screwed him over, he fakes being crippled. He uses that to gain Ichiban's trust, because he used to be in Bleach Japan also, so he knows his relationship with Ichiban and the boss's son. So he does all that, and then towards the end of the game, he steals a woman and a child and tries to murder them because the Yakuza fucked him over. It went from okay, he's trying to, they fucked his life over, so he's trying to fuck over Yakuza's life. So he becomes a maniacal, crazy person that's it's not even just he's just trying to fuck them over, but he kind of feels bad. No, he's literally laughing as he's trying to murder a child. It went way too far, in my opinion, when it comes to his story. And then towards the end of the game, the cutscene you're seeing right here, then Ichiban comes back to him and he's like, Eiji, I know you, you can be better. And it's he's trying so hard to help him, but it's why? Ichiban, you don't know who Eiji is. He was pretending to be that person. He's not actually that person, So, I don't know, it was kind of frustrating, but I guess, the final cutscene was nice. But I feel like it would have been better if this was Chitose, because Chitose is a character that screwed him over throughout the game, and then this final cutscene would have worked out better for her, where like she reveals her identity. Maybe all the fans are after her now. They're trying to get back at her. But then Ichiban comes and he's like, Chitose, we've been through so much together. I forgive you. Just turn yourself in. It would have made more sense for her than Eiji to like disappear like halfway through the game and then come back at the end. Throughout the game, you can tell that Kiryu is feeling very guilty for what happened to the Yakuza, because he was the leader of the Toja clan, and I believe it was the fourth game. He was the leader of the Toja clan, and he didn't do anything to change the Toja clan. He kind of gave up and like tried to run away from it. So he felt, responsible for what happened to all these Yakuza members, their lives getting destroyed after, they disbanded the clans. So that part I enjoyed a lot, but it didn't have like the same emotional impact that, Like a Dragon Gaiden had at the end. But besides that part I did like. So because of that, I felt like the storyline kind of fell apart towards the end, where it's just like, okay, I don't really care about any of these like villains, but it was cool that it was at Millennium Tower, so we got to, visit back to a place that we went to like in the previous games. But besides that, the final fights were just very boring, and I also hated like the whole like when you go into the cold leader, you fight like a giant shark. It's like, okay, cool. And then you go inside the cave and then you find a giant squid, and it's like, okay, like there were cool battles, but I feel like stuff like that would have been better for like the side missions or something, because I feel like they're just too like silly for the serious story that's going on. But besides that, like they were fine. I just felt like the story just kind of fell apart towards the end. Now let's talk about Kiryu's cancer and the ending of the game. So pretty much like I would say like a quarter in, maybe a little bit earlier towards the game, you get revealed that Kiryu has cancer, which I hate that they like just spoiled that in like all the trailers and the advertisement for the game. And I'm the type of person that I don't watch any trailers for stuff that I know I'm gonna buy. Like I know I'm gonna buy the next Yakuza game, so I'm not gonna watch any trailers because I don't want to be spoiled. But because it was just everywhere, I ended up seeing it. It's like, okay, cool, Kiryu gets cancer. Let's see if he dies from it. Now the silly thing they did at the beginning, which I don't see anyone talking about, I thought it was fucking stupid, is that Kiryu, it's Ichiban and the side character. I forgot the side character's name, Tachiban or Tawai or whatever. And they're in the hotel room and Kiryu turns around and is like, I have cancer. And then it goes back to a cutscene where like Kiryu is at like a nuclear waste recycling facility, and then some guy gets a heart attack, so he goes into the barrels, and then Kiryu goes in to save him because he's the best guy ever. And then Kiryu's mask breaks, and then he breathes in like some like toxins, and he's like, yeah, I probably got it from that. And it's like they didn't need to do all that. Kiryu could have just said, I have cancer. You don't need to explain why you got cancer. Like, you didn't have to say that. And the funny thing is that like the game is about like radioactive waste recycling, but what happened with Kiryu doesn't tie into that, which I thought they were gonna do. I thought they were gonna like tie these stories in somehow, but it doesn't tie in at all. So it was kind of a throwaway line. Like, why was Kiryu there? He says he's like volunteering, but it's like, but why? Like, I think it would have been better if they were just like, Kiryu just got cancer from smoking, because smoking is something he did throughout the game, and like it would have been actually very ironic that like Kiryu went through all these like impossible fights and battles. He did like these incredible things. He got shot at, he faked his own death and everything, but at the end what got him was just smoking. I think that would have been like an ironic, kind of like a twist of fate type of deal, but instead they want to have this like long exhibition about it that I thought was silly, but I thought they handled it well. I liked how like, towards the half point of the game, Kiryu's kind of holding them back because he's sick, and they kind of like kick him out. They're like, all right, Kiryu, you're holding the team back, so we're gonna have to send you back to Japan. And then he goes back, but he can't just sit still, so he goes into like, gets in trouble there. I liked how they dealt with that also, but it also created suspense throughout the game where it's like, is Kiryu gonna survive this? Now let's talk about the ending, because at the end, at the end of Life Links, for example, what happens is that Kiryu's like, doesn't want to fight it, and everyone's telling him to fight it, which kind of makes sense, because he says that, he went to like the best, doctors with that this whole like secret organization gave him, and they were kind of like, the cancer's too far, so there isn't much we can do. But then at the end of the game, at the very last scene, you see that Kiryu is very skinny and sick looking, which probably means he's going through chemo. So I don't know. So I guess at the end of the game, they're pretty much saying Kiryu is fighting, which probably means that he's going to survive and he's going to live, which is kind of my problem, which I want Kiryu to live. I don't want Kiryu to, you know, die or whatever, but I wish they would kind of conclude Kiryu's story. That doesn't mean they have to kill him. They could just, you know, send him off to the... They could just send him back to the Yakuza 3, you know, orphanage. What is it, the Sunshine Orphanage or whatever? Just have him there. Just have him, you know, be sick, but he can, you know, recover and then just, like, live the rest of his days there in peace. But instead, I feel like they're still trying to milk Kiryu. I feel like what they're doing with this ending is to, like, test the audience reaction to see, should we bring back Kiryu or should we just kind of, like, leave him out of the story? Because I feel like they're kind of scared of leaving Kiryu out of the story, which I understand because he's a very popular character. But honestly, Ichiban is also a great character, maybe even better than Kiryu, because I would say he's kind of better written than Kiryu, where Kiryu is very two-dimensional with his character, while Ichiban has more depth to his character. So we will see what they do in the future with these games, but I thought the ending was pretty good. You know, it showed that, you know, Kiryu is still fighting it, and then at the end, Haruka comes in, and Haruka's visiting him with, what is the son's name, Haruto or whatever. So we kind of got like a reunion, but I really wish we got to like actually see them, you know, see each other for the first time. You know, I wish they didn't rob us of that, but hopefully in the next game they will show it, because Kiryu is definitely going to be in the next game. Like, there's no way they're going to be like, oh yeah, Kiryu just died. If they see that, they're fucking lying, just like how Kiryu is throughout the game. So when it comes to the side characters of the game, we got our boy Eric Tomizawa, and I like this guy. He was fun. He was a cool character. I enjoyed him a lot. You know, I like this story arc where he like kind of begins with, you know, robbing you at a taxi, and then at the end he becomes your friend and he becomes a pretty good ally. So I like this character a lot. After that, we got our boy Chitose, and Chitose, I thought it was a very well-written character, because her character was supposed to be like someone that's like you don't trust at all, and I feel like they did a great job with that, because this bitch, I did not trust the whole game. The whole game, I'm like, whatever she's saying, she's lying, don't trust her, and Ichiban, of course, trusts her with whatever she says, because Ichiban's like the nicest guy ever. But I thought they did a perfect job, like, just with her face, like, I would just look at her face and I'm like, she's lying, I don't trust her at all. Don't trust this bitch. So they did a great job with that. So when it comes to other side characters, they brought back the characters from the first game. You know, of course, we got our boy Namba and Adachi, which I absolutely loved. So, like, when they came back in the story, like halfway point where Kiryu's going back, but your boys Namba and Adachi coming back, I love that scene so much. They did a great job with that. So I like them a lot. And then we also have Psycho. They had like their like love story going on, which was okay, like, because at the beginning, like, Ichiban like asks her out, she says yes, and then on their first date, Ichiban's like asks her to marry him, which is ridiculous, but it's kind of, you know, Ichiban's a silly, goofy guy, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. But and then she kind of just ghosts him and then doesn't talk to him for a year. But then we skip ahead and then we learn her side, and she's kind of like, oh, the reason why I didn't say yes is because he didn't say I love you. And it's like, what? I mean, I guess she also didn't want to marry so soon, so I guess it freaked her out. But her reason was that, oh, he didn't think about her feelings, he only cared about how he felt. But like, I don't know, I felt like that was kind of a dumb reason, but I guess it's kind of reasonable. I feel like it would have been better reason to just be like, oh, it kind of freaked me out that he wanted to get married on the first date. You know, that was too fast. That's just a better reason than, oh, he didn't say I love you. But at the end of the game, they kind of, you know, get together, and then Ichiban tells her that he loves him, and then he like takes off his jacket and he's wearing a shirt that says I love her, and then she freaks out and leaves again. So it was like a funny ending, but I guess they're together. You know, some people were mad at it because they're like, oh, we're back to square one, but no, they're actually dating now, so Yeah, so that story was fine. It was just like a goofy little storyline. It wasn't anything serious, but I enjoyed it. Then we have Seon Hee come back, and she's in love with Kiryu, and I like her. I just don't buy the whole like, oh, she's the leader of the Korean mafia, but she's also the leader of the Chinese mafia. I thought that storyline is kind of silly because I feel like they're not gonna have, the Chinese mafia is not gonna follow a Korean woman. These like those gang members are they're not gonna be the most liberal people. They're not gonna be like, yes, queen, I'll follow you. So. But besides that, I like her. I think her character is cool, and she's in love with Kiryu, and those like cutscenes were fun to see. And then we have Jong Hee come, and Jong Hee I love. He's a great character. I thought he was a fun addition to the character, and so I had fun with his character. But then we have fucking Zhao, and I feel like this fucker we don't need anymore. Like, he didn't need to be in the game. The only reason he's in this game is because he was in the previous game. They're like, alright, I guess we'll bring him back too, because he literally had no story in the game. His story was that, oh, he has a restaurant now because he's no longer part of the Chinese mafia. He gave that to a Korean woman. And he has a review, and he has a restaurant now, and then someone left a bad review on it. That's the storyline that he's involved in. That's literally it. I'm not even joking. That's pretty much it. But besides that, I mean, they were all fun, so I had a lot of fun with them. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, I think, guys. So I mean, this is a very long video. How long did I shoot for? For 58 minutes. Jesus Christ. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the game. I mean, this is a great game, but it just has issues, unfortunately. And hopefully the next game, they won't repeat the same mistakes. Because I feel like with these Yakuza games, they're kind of just pumping them out. It's like every year there's a new Yakuza game. There's a new what's it called? New Judgment game or whatever. I feel like they're kind of stretching themselves thin, because with the last Judgment game, I honestly felt like that game also was just like not that good. Like, the story was good, but the side missions weren't that good. It felt like they kind of just stretched it out too much, because they're trying to make these games like 100 hours long, and this game doesn't need to be 100 hours long. It could have been 60 hours long if they put more time and emphasis on the content that was there, besides trying to stretch it out more. But anyways, I had a great time with the game, so let me know what you guys think about the game. What did you guys think about the story? Do you guys think Kiryu is gonna come back in the next game? Because I feel like what I want is for Kiryu to like appear in the game, but not be the whole focus. Because with this game, I felt like Ichiban just finishes the story halfway down, then it's like, alright, this is about Kiryu now. In this game, we went through, with the Memoirs of the Dragon side mission, we went through all of his, previous characters that he interacted with, and kind of concluded their stories also, like especially the Master's story, where you finally see the Master again after you haven't seen him since like the 4th game or something. So it was cool to see him again, and then Kiryu obviously pretends to be dead again, which is so stupid, because the Master's like, I know who you are, but whatever, I guess I'll play along. So, but besides that, like, it was cool to see like all these characters come back. So I feel like if they put him in the next game, it's gonna be kind of ridiculous, because like they did on this trope before where Kiryu pretends to be dead. It's like my last game, but then he comes back. But this game was like, alright, this is my last game. This is the last game of the Pocket Racer guy. This is the last game of the Master. So hopefully if they show him, it'll be like a small thing. It doesn't become the main focus like it was in this game, and somewhat in the previous game also. So I hope the next game Ichiban will get to, be the spotlight besides Kiryu stealing it. And hopefully they'll fucking bring back the florist. What the fuck happened to the florist? Because this game I was hoping to see florist, because we haven't seen that guy in like so many games, and he was a very important part of the story in the first game and the second game. And then they just got rid of him. So I was hoping to see that, but we haven't seen him. So hopefully we see florist again. That's the only person I want coming back. Kiryu, go fucking rest, dude. Get better. We love you. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Just let me know what you guys think about the game. Bye.